This is Yvette Carnell from BreakingBrown.com and from YourBlackWorld.net. I'm joined by Benjamin Dixon from The Benjamin Dixon Show. And today I think we want to talk about sacred cows. And, in no kind of pejorative or insulting sense, but I want to have a conversation about Oprah. Oprah Winfrey in the black community is like probably the closest you will get to a deified human being in terms of how she's regarded. And I just wanted to kind of bring Ben in to kind of speak about what her legacy has been or what her legacy is at this point. We all know she's given money to Morehouse and she's been philanthropic in a lot of ways, and nobody is discounting that. But from my perspective, there's a lot that she has also done that's been detrimental, not just in terms of black people, but in terms of working class and poor people. So I wanted to bring Ben in and ask Ben, like, first of all, like, what is your view? Like, if somebody came down and they were a Martian and they were like, tell us about Oprah Winfrey, tell us about who she is and whether or not you think she is good or bad politically, and what she represents. What would be your quick, like, 3-minute answer to that? Like, what would you say?
3-minute answer, I would have to say that she is a talented person that got some really good breaks and made the best out of it. And what she did, I don't think the average person can ever accomplish. And so if we're going to model something, she's not the person for us to model. That's it.
Okay, and politically, like I said, we saw her come out for Obama in what was that, 2008 or whatever. Before that, yes, but politically, and let me just say this. My thing is in terms of not just exactly what Oprah did, but what Oprah didn't do. In the sense of, in my mind, there was so much energy in terms of what should have been done in terms of changing politics, right? Like, if you believe that people work too hard, if you believe that people, having to work 60 hours a week and have kids, if that's too much, in the terms of the way our society is constructed, then the best thing to do is to change the society, as opposed to saying, well, come home and write down 3 things that you're grateful for. You know what I mean? So my thing is, people don't understand how the unwillingness to deal with the political aspect of life, which Oprah did all the time. There was nothing Oprah ever asked you to do to change your life, which involved changing the system. Oprah, so I wanted to just get your take and see if we agreed on that, or whether you have a different take.
No, so initially when you shared that article, I think I read you wrong, and I thought that you were supporting this idea of neoliberalism and capitalism, and all you have to do is work harder, which is what that article was saying with regard to Oprah, saying that she beat the odds, she came out of poverty, she came out of abuse, she came out of all these things, and she has risen to this level of opulence and greatness and wealth. And so I was reading it. I'm like, I know Yvette doesn't believe this. I know, because I don't even believe that. The system is baked. The system is baked such that you either have to be born with a certain amount of wealth, born with a certain amount of connections, or born with a certain amount of brilliance, which Oprah was. I think Oprah was born with a certain amount of intellectual and social capital that gave her an advantage, but she paired that with perfect timing, great opportunities, people with great mentors, people who can put her in places. And the average African American, average black person, we don't have that chance. Most of us might be brilliant, just as brilliant as Oprah, but we're fighting against poverty just to make it to school in the mornings without being hungry. And so when I listen, and I never really watched Oprah. My mother used to watch it when I was little, and so I picked it up here and there. But I've seen her commercials, or I've seen people share links on YouTube and Facebook, and she's always talking about this positive fix yourself story. And that's a lot of even with like prosperity gospels, like if all you have to do is X, Y, and Z, and everything else will work out fine with you. But that's just not true. The truth of the matter is, you could work as hard as possible, you could do all the things right, but we are in a system that is really not one that's conducive for the average American. And with regard to what you're saying with politics, you're right. She never really made any impact beyond introducing Obama to the world, and all the hopes and aspirations that we had, and that a lot of people had. I don't think you ever had. I think you saw. I think you saw through that from the beginning. But a lot of people had these aspirations for President Obama to do these things to fix the system, And here we are 6 and 7 years later, and the system is just as broken and fragmented as it has ever been.
No, I tend to agree with the first one. Let me tell you, one of the things I think about when I think about Oprah, one of the things I think about like immediately is and I grew up watching Oprah. Let me just say that. Like, I know you said you had, you knew her kind of through your mom or whatever. I grew up watching Oprah. Like, after school, I would watch Oprah. And I remember though, after I was grown and she came with The Secret thing, right? And The Secret kind of has this idea that if you put stuff up on your corkboard or whatever and you focus on it, that is going to draw the wealth to you. And I just, I remember after the fact, like thinking that this is one of the most egregious kind of abuses I have ever seen. Instead of fixing the system where workers have more access, or are rewarded with more of the reap the rewards of their labor, as opposed to getting crumbs at the bottom and fighting for crumbs, you're telling people that, that they're just not focusing on what they need to be focusing on. Like, if you're just not drawing this wealth to you, and like you said, it's this hard work trope. I'm not saying that anybody shouldn't work hard. We should all work hard just because of our values that we have as human beings, But, the idea that, if you work hard, if you stay to the course, you're going to automatically, become wealthy or do well. And that's not true. There are some people who work hard and live their lives as overworked, underpaid janitors. Just because you work hard doesn't mean you aren't working hard for somebody else, and that other person is going to reap the benefits. So, I think when I think about Oprah, I mean, there are a lot of aspects of like what she's done that make me really kind of either sad or upset. Because I think, Oprah became this like empathetic listening ear for women. Oh, I hear you. I feel your pain. And it's like we should have been doing something to make sure that people, change the things that were creating our pain, as opposed to just like resting on the bosom of Oprah, and crying on her shoulder about what we felt and what was happening, as if. And I think it's really, I think it was, and I think in that sense it was kind of damaging to women, because it kind of pushed the idea that, like, if you are having problems, there's something wrong with you and you have to fix it. You're not being grateful enough, or you're not looking at the positive, or your perspective is wrong, as opposed to like, no, maybe the system is just jacked up. Maybe the system worked for you, but maybe the system doesn't work for everybody, and maybe you're not the person to be having that conversation.
Right. You know what? And like I said, my mother watched it. My dad never watched it really. It was something that I really see more of Oprah now than I did when I was growing up. And she falls into that category of these motivational speakers like Joel Osteen and sometimes T.D. Jakes, and then it's funny when you were talking about that vision board thing. I was riding down to New York or to D.C. this past week, and I actually took the time to listen to Al Sharpton's show, radio show. And it's the first time ever listening to it. And he was talking about the same exact thing. Like, you got to put your vision up on the board, and you got to do this, and you got to focus on it. And if you just work really hard, I'm like, Rev, first of all, you wasted my time talking about this vision board, which is like elementary school. But then two, we have to stop lying to people. Sometimes you could write out the vision and you could work for it all of your life and you would never get to it. Not because you weren't talented, not because you weren't gifted, not because you didn't work hard, but simply because you never had the opportunity, the connections, and the capital that are necessary to be successful in America. And that's the reason I really want to talk about Oprah. Like you said, it was like she's selling, in a lot of ways, she sold a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else. And because, this is where you and I totally agree with religion nowadays. Religion has been packaged up to be the opiate for the masses, someone else said. I can't remember who said it. But it makes it easier and palatable to be able to deal with the fact that, you know what, I'm 35 and my career is shit right now. I'm 35, 40, and I've been working all my life and I have nothing to show for it. I'm 50 and, all I have are kids who are about to go to college, and I don't even have a way to to pay for them to go to college. And I've been working for 30 years, and so these motivational speakers and these preachers, they just feed us the feel good stuff, the stuff that makes you keep going. And the truth of the matter is, it distracts from the real structural changes that we should have been demanding from the system ever since. And if Oprah was that influential in 2008, then she damn sure should have had the ear of the president to say, okay, Barry, Barack, whoever she wants to call him, we're here, and this is what we need to do. And not that she could have been that powerful, but she's a billionaire, so I don't even think it would have been necessary for her to be that influential culturally. She could have been that influential economically because she has economic impact, and that's all the world recognizes. They don't recognize people with good intentions. They recognize people with money.
No, I agree. I think they do recognize people with money, but I think, it's funny. We've always thought of Oprah as being sort of, or the Black community in general, of Oprah as being sort of transformational. And when you really look at it from like a perspective of political economy, the opposite is actually true. Oprah has been a source of kind of quelling, discontent among the masses. And just like you talked about the preacher saying that everything's going to be okay, kind of, don't worry about it. There's another side, there's a heaven, and people are going to have to pay in hell and all this stuff. Oprah has kind of turned the mirror back and said, if your life, if you are having these issues, then maybe you're not planning well enough. We're going to bring on a planner to show you how to plan your day down to the minute. We're going to show you how to do everything in terms of the kids, in terms of keep the house clean, in terms of do all this stuff. And it's just like, at no point do you ever challenge the system and say, hold on, how do we expect a woman who is, working 60 hours a week to be able to raise a family? There's no amount of planning that's going to give her, the rest, the energy, needed. Yeah, and why is she struggling with money? You're showing her how to budget on $25,000 a year without ever asking, why is she making $25,000 a year when the person whose company she works for, the CEO makes millions, the top executives makes millions. So I think when I had to really take some time and reflect on this in terms of, and in some ways, I think, and this doesn't say that Oprah hasn't done positive things, but there has to be some balance here, right? There has to be some balance. You can't talk about Oprah in terms of only the positive things she's done and not talk about, how her inaction or her refusal to talk about the system takes away from that. I remember one of the only times she talked about that, she had Bill O'Reilly on her show. Like, one of the only times she talked about politics, I remember Bill O'Reilly was there as one of the voices. And we all know that Bill O'Reilly is a hack from, like, Inside Edition or something. You know what I mean? So, he's never really been, even in terms of our journalists today who aren't really journalists, who are just kind of like these lazy kind of talking heads. But even in terms of them, he hasn't even ever been that. And he had, like, a premier space. I remember him sitting on a stool and talking to the women very fatherly and having this and I'm just like, dude, this has been such a disservice. Like, that's why people don't understand that, like, change has to come, like, so much of this change has to come through politics. If you do need more money, you are owed more money. Like, money is how you buy food and everything else. Learning how to manage your time better isn't going to make you less tired. You know what I mean? So it's all of this stuff that we don't think about, and that's why we don't really have a political education, because we bought into this notion that everything that happens that goes wrong is our fault. If I were better, if I had a better strategy for living, if I had a better perspective on living, everything would be better for me because Oprah said so.
Right, and that's just totally not true. There's no other way to cut it. You can have, this is the way I look at it. Our system is designed to extract, literally, like when I study economics, it is designed, there's a basic study in economics of asking how do we get the last dollar from a consumer. A consumer only has $1, and how do you get that dollar? And so that is the concept inside of the entire structure of our capitalistic system. And so if you're living in a system that is designed to extract from you all the time, it has no regard to you going bankrupt, no regard to you not being able to pay your bills, no regard to you working 60 hours a week. It just wants to eat and consume. If we're born in a system like that, and we're born in the ghetto, I don't care how talented you are. You have to be an Einstein to be able to break free from that. And so let's say Oprah was that Einstein. Let's say all these other people who are heralded and put Jay-Z's and all the people that are put in front of us as models of success. let's say that they were Einsteins, but they also had to be met with the perfect opportunity, the perfect timing, someone to open up a door for them, because it's not what you know, it's who you know, and then it's how much you have to make it happen. All of these things combined is not conducive to the average person. But yet they take these people who are the extreme. They're not the norm. They break the rules. They're not the rule, and they put them in front of us to say, if you just do it like this, then everything will be fine. If you just do it like that, and if I work 60 hours a week. I think for a while there I was working almost 90 hours a week, and there is just no way that you can tweak anything to get more sleep, to eat right, to work out, and all those positive things that they try to tell you all the time. And I know there's a lot of people in Your Black World Network that work 2 or 3 jobs too, that are working their butts off.
Yeah.
But if they make one mistake, everything that they worked for goes out the window, because we're in a system that's there to just extract. And so the way I see it is that in this system, you have to have enough economic capital. You have to have enough money to not only get out, but to be able to make some mistakes along the way, to be able to make some financial mistakes along the way. And most black people are not born in those types of circumstances. So that whenever I hear people like preachers and Oprah, and I really lump Oprah over there to motivational preacher speaking, I hear it and it sounds good and it feels good, but then reality sets in, and I recognize that, you know what, I start my 90-hour a week cycle again on Monday. So everything that they said sounds good, but how far can it actually go when you're working from 5 in the morning to midnight every single day?
Yeah, and I mean, it's this trope. Like, nobody ever tells you like how they really got rich. That's one thing I realized too. Nobody ever tells you how they really got rich. Nobody ever tells you that, yeah, I slept with this person, or you know what I mean? Or I agreed to do this, or people treated me like a dog, and I took it because, that's what they needed me to feel in order for them to feel okay with me getting rich. Like, nobody tells you that. Like, Steve Harvey will tell a thing about you got to put out a parachute or some BS. I saw a video going around him saying, Tyler Perry will say, well, you gotta plant the seeds. Well, that could be true, but you don't say like the business strategies you use to go and just basically shut people down. You know what I mean? Like, right. These are things that you all do that happen, but everybody, still gets inundated with that trope. Everything, if you just work harder, if you would just be better, this kind of thing would not happen to you. So it's all on you. And so, I mean that I think because we're black people and we have a certain sense of racial collectivism, we tend to kind of buy into what they say, and so we work very hard. And so I think at a certain point we're going to have to sort of become our own people, right? And say, look, I'm not going to look to Oprah, because I know that Oprah, like everybody else, has an agenda. She has something that she's selling. So I have to look to myself, because people are always looking at me as some sort of commodity or something to make money from. Like you say, like when I leave the house, I always think like there's somebody here who's going to trying to take money from me. If I walk down someplace and I smell really good food, they're trying to take money because they want me to come in and buy. I mean, that's how I think. That's how my mind works. So I think we have to sort of get in a mindset of, the only people who are allied with us are people who kind of share our principles. And we have to be very clear on what those principles are in terms of tangible things we can do moving forward. Not the secret, put a picture of a Maserati up on your thing and draw it to you. And then the idea of like, why do you want all these material things anyway? Like, it's just like we're inundated. Like we are such consumers in the sense of, why do you feel that you need that? Why are you in this trance that makes you feel like you're not a good human being or you're not worthy? If you don't have these things, if you don't have these wonderful things. I saw a thing, I remember when Tyler Perry gave Oprah a Bentley. Like, who, like what, like, are you that, like, not a creative a person? Like, why would you give a billionaire a Bentley? I mean, it's just these sorts, I can't tell you, like, I can't tell you, like, even in terms of environmentalism, like how we're treating the earth, like, it has infinite resources. We're just, digging from like the bones of a dead planet at this point. And we still listen to that and we still crave it. And so for me, like, it seems like the craving has to stop. Like, you have to stop craving all this stuff. Yes, we need food, we need shelter, we need all these things. And whatever wealth we get, it's best that we hold on to it because we're going to need it. So, I mean, that's just my perspective, and I'm just going to give you the last word, Ben, on this synopsis and what you think we should do going forward.
I have another kid incident right close door, but so the last word is you got to do whatever the hell you have to do to break out of this, and that's one thing I appreciate about Boyce and Your Black World, Dr. Watkins and Your Black World, is that he's constantly telling me. Well, first, let me give you the perfect example. Even though a lot of people on Your Black World may disagree with me, there's a lot of other people who just think that my opinions are like great and brilliant. And here I am sitting with all this so-called brilliance that people think I have, but absolutely no opportunity to share it.
Yeah.
Not until I ran into Boyce. Not until I ran into Dr. Watkins and he gave me a platform to share and mutually beneficial, you know what I mean? He looked out.
Yeah.
Without those opportunities, you can be the greatest athlete, but if you don't get that opportunity, you're not going any further than your connections. You're not going any further than your opportunities. And so that's a perfect example is like, working 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week is just the entry level. I mean, that's the beginning. If you're working that many hours a week, but you don't have any of those doors open for you, it really is like you're working for nothing. Because without someone to open a door, everybody that we talked about, Tyler Perry, Steve Harvey, Oprah Winfrey, all these preachers that are trying to sell us a pipe dream, they had someone open a door for them, and then they were able to walk through that door. I think work ethic is great, and I think it's absolutely vital, but if no one has opened up a door to give you an opportunity, which sometimes means that they're going to take something from you. Ask Tyler Perry, you give up something to get something, financially, and that's just part of doing business. But unless somebody has opened a door for you, you're going to be the greatest talent in your neighborhood. You're going to be the greatest talent in your apartment. And so for me, it's like they don't tell the whole story. Hard work is just the beginning. Everybody's working hard. You're working hard. I'm working hard. Boyce is working hard.
Yeah, it's just one ingredient. I think if there's one thing to remember is that the hard work is probably like one ingredient out of 100 in terms of things that have to click right in order for you to be successful. It's not the end all and be all, and you need to be able to have a good life regardless of whether all of these things click. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably I think that's very important, Ben. I think that's a good point for us to sort of end this conversation now. And if you don't agree with us, I'm sure we'll see you in the YouTube comment section. So thanks again, Ben. I appreciate you.
No problem. My pleasure.